So hi everybody, today I want to talk about something that almost everyone with ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID and related conditions has had to deal with at some point. Those times when you feel like you have to overdo it. Not because you're being reckless, not because you're ignoring your body, but because life hands you something like a health form, a benefits review, a work deadline for those people who are working a family situation. And saying no just isn't an option. If that's you, you're in the right place. My aim is in this session is not to tell you to push through, it's to give you a nervous system informed way of approaching those situations. So you can approach them with less fear, more sense of being in charge. Feel like you've got a bit more choice even when it doesn't feel like you've got many options. And reduce the impact on your body as much as possible. Of course, apply what I share to you and your situation. So discern what's relevant and what's not. If you don't know me, my name's Simon Pimenta. I had ME, CFS and fibromyalgia for around 8-9 years. And I went from not being able to walk for 1 minute at times to going back to work, going back to life, going to festivals, playing sports. And I share lots of free content, tools, resources, and coaching to help you move towards your health goals. So if you're new here, say hi. Feel free to let me know where you are in the world. And if you've come back for more, thanks for that. And say hello in the chat. So let's dive in. So the first thing I suggest is that it's useful to reframe overdoing. So first I want to, let's just go back here. I want to give you a different perspective, all right? So from a mind-body perspective, your emotional brain and your nervous system are constantly asking the questions. Are we safe? Are we under threat? Are we meeting our needs? When you have ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID, that system has often learned activity is dangerous, demand is dangerous, pressure is dangerous. So when you have to do more than usual, the brain doesn't just track the activity, it also tracks the fear about will I crash, the self-judgment, the pressure that maybe you're putting on yourself. And all of that adds to the load. So the goal here is not how do I become superhuman and do everything. The goal is how do I reduce the threat around doing this necessary thing so that my nervous system feels as safe as possible whilst I do it. So everything I'm going to share with you is about sending safety signals to your body and your nervous system. So yeah, do let me know, do say hi in the chat, let me know that I am coming through okay. Let me know where you are in the world, and let me know if this is a topic that you can relate to. I'm sure you're here because it is. Okay, so as I say, use your judgment to determine which of these tips apply to you, and it's really important to learn to listen to your body. So second point is to plan your recharge time first. So I want to start with something practical. Plan how you're going to recharge before you plan the task. Most people think, I'll see how long this takes. If I crash, I'll rest. From the body's point of view, that feels like a big demand. So instead you could do this. Look at the task. Decide how much time you're going to focus on the task today. And then block self-care time before and after that time. Self-care might be rest, but it also might be practicing nervous system regulation, deep relaxation. So for example, you might say, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on the form, and then I'm going to have a proper break, and I'll talk more about that in a moment, for 20-30 minutes. So now you're sending your body a very different message. We're not going to work until we fall over. There is a break waiting for us. That alone can reduce the fear response. So let's see. Natalie says, hi, loud and clear. Thanks for letting me know. Callisto, hello, I'm from Germany. Thank you for talking about the topic. I have to move apartment soon. Okay, and I'll remind me at the end, I'll share a few tips for that. So, third tip. Let's just move that. Okay, is break the task down into smaller sections. We want to shrink the task ruthlessly. The brain might be saying, I have to finish this 20-page form today. Instead, we bring it down to 1 page or 1 question or 1 paragraph. You're saying to yourself, right now, I'm only answering this 1 question. That's it. So that requires some self-management, okay? Because I'm sure, like me, you may have the tendency to go for it. So Kate says, hi, I was in the wrong meeting. No, nice that you've joined. Hi, Penny from Nottingham. Great topics. Thanks for that. So micro chunks do 2 things. They reduce the perceived threat. The brain is far less alarmed by 1 question than all of this in one go. And one of the things about overwhelm is we get overwhelmed because we feel like we have to do everything now. So we're putting all these tasks one on top of the other. Actually, we can spread them out. Okay. And just to give you an example, for instance, I remember one time when I was moving, and I looked at how much time I had, maybe let's say it was 3 weeks. And I looked at my day and thought, right, when can I realistically focus on doing tasks related to the move? And let's say I decided I could do an hour each day. I blocked that time out. I wrote a list of tasks that I had to do, and I worked my way through that list. And it did just give me a sense of being more in charge. Got more tips coming soon. All right. So micro chunks reduce the perceived threat, and they create more frequent completion moments, which give your nervous system little hits of, I did it safely. And let's say, for instance, there are 20 pages. You might just get a sheet of paper and put 20 squares and just tick one off as you do it. That can give you that sense of you're making progress. So if you notice your mind is going into that all or nothing thinking, which sometimes we do, put a yes in the chat if you recognize that's a pattern, then we need to gently bring it back to, what's my next piece of the task that I'm going to focus on? Okay, what's my next tiny piece? Okay, so just have a look at the chat. Hi, Simon. Karen from Alicante. Hey, Karen. How cool you're in Alicante. I was there last summer. Cool place. So thanks for joining us. So number 4 is use a timer and then stop. How many people have, so River Tree says yes. How many people have done that? Your timer goes off and you go, oh, I'll just do a bit more. Put your hand up or say yes in the chat if that's you, or G for guilty. I've definitely done that. Okay. So set your timer. So Kate says yes. Set a timer. Decide what the time frame is going to be. Pick a number that feels doable rather than heroic. I meant to actually put a slide with superhero. And I've talked about this concept before. When I completed my counselling course, we all went camping. We were sitting around the campfire and we were having a laugh about starting to work again. And one of the things we talked about is that we had to remember that we're not superhuman. And I came up with this idea of magic underpants, which is that every time we start to think we're superhuman, our underpants appear on the outside. If that if I could invent that, I think I'd make a lot of money. So we've got Kate saying up until now, good. Hey, yeah, definitely says Penny. Yes, Kate. Defo says Stacey. So, yes, up until now. All right. Yes, yes. Okay, so thanks for letting me know. So, we don't need to be a superhero. Okay, the key part is this: when the timer goes off, you stop, even if a part of you thinks, I could keep going, I should just push a bit more. Stopping trains your system out of the old boom and bust pattern. What would that be like to break that pattern? Would that be freaking awesome? If it is, put an A in a chat. If you want to break that pattern, and breaking that pattern can make a significant difference to your healing and recovery. Okay, I'm sure many of you recognize that you've been in that pattern of booming and busting. Okay, you can say to yourself, we promised we'd stop at 10 minutes. Keeping that promise is the work today. Bonus tip, focus on your wig, not your mig. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. Wig is your wildly important goal. For instance, I want to be healthy so that I can climb mountains. Mig is your mildly important goal. And sometimes we focus on our mig at the expense of our wig. So before the task, you start, okay, what's my wig? I want to climb a mountain, or I want to do this, I want to do that. That's my goal. So I'm going to do this task with my wildly important goal uppermost in my mind. All right? When you keep that promise repeatedly, the emotional brain starts to learn, we don't push until we collapse anymore. We're allowed to stop whilst we feel okay. And actually doing that, stopping whilst you feel okay, can feel really good. Okay, I remember doing that, going to a pub after I'd had kind of virus flu symptoms, and I left when my body started sending that signal. Been there an hour and a half. It's time to go. And in the past, I would have pushed through, and then by the time I got home, I would have been frazzled. This time, I listened, and it felt really good. It felt really nurturing to leave, saying to myself, I've had a nice time. There's going to be more of these times. And I got into bed still feeling good. Okay, that's a massive safety signal. Okay, so number 5. And let me know in the chat, is that something you do? Listen and stop when it feels good to stop, or do you tend to push through? Put an S for stop, P for push. You know, which is the thing you, at the moment, up until now, you've done more of. Okay, so let's just see if there's any more comments. Okay, I can see some A's. What about the pressure of other people's expectations? Great question, River Tree. It's about us saying, okay, that's coming from them. I can still make choices. You know, if you've got a specific situation that you're thinking about, feel free to let me know. But it's about us reclaiming our brilliant, authentic, true self. When I work with people, I talk about that. Your job is to be your brilliant, authentic, true self. You might say, look, I'm feeling some pressure from you. That's not helping. That's just actually creating more stress. And that's not supporting my healing. So back off. You know, find your own language for doing that. Okay. But let me know if that gives you a little bit of food for thought. Okay. So next point. Okay. Actually, sorry, I can't see. I missed. Hang on. Let me just go back here. I think I've just broken the slides. Oh, maybe I missed a point. Let me just go back. So real recharge breaks. Okay. So most people take what I call fake breaks. What does a fake break look like? Scrolling on your phone, reading about the thing that's stressing you, mentally rehearsing the task. Your nervous system doesn't experience that as a rest. Okay, so if we're going to take a break, make sure it's a deep break. There's a chap called, I think, Cal Newport. He talks about deep work, and part of that is taking deep breaks. So it might be, you know, actually whilst I was creating the slides for this presentation, I got to about slide 8 and I thought, I need a break. I need to get up. I need to get out of the room. One of my colleagues talks about 20. Get up for at least 20 seconds. Move 20 steps away, 20 yards away from where you're standing, if that's appropriate. Can't remember what the other 20 is. But anyway, take those breaks. And I just got up, I moved around, I got a drink, and I felt better. I could feel, you know, I was getting a bit fatigued, just needed to take a break, and that was refreshing. Okay, so if it's taking a break, closing your eyes if that's comfortable, slow, gentle breathing, hand on heart, hand on belly, doing diaphragmatic breathing, letting your muscles soften, your jaw unclench. If you like, you can do this right now. Just take a breath, close your eyes, breathe in through your nose as long as that's comfortable into your belly. Breathe out of your nose as long as that's comfortable. Just letting your out breath be a little longer than your in breath. Just allowing your muscles to soften. Drop your shoulders. Loosen your jaw. You might do this sitting or lying down, just allowing your body to sink into the chair or the bed. And you might repeat, right now, for these few minutes, my only job is to rest, relax, soften, and let go. So even 3 to 5 minutes of a true downshift is worth far more than 20 minutes of scrolling on your phone. Okay, let me know how you found doing that. Very brief relaxation. That was a few minutes. Okay, let's just have a look. Yeah, I'm seeing some P's. Sure, both P and S. Used to push all the time, says Natalie. Better at stopping now. Amazing. Bit of both, says Penny. I'm better at stopping too, but not always so great at, yeah. So great advice. Yeah, thank you. I do yoga nidra several times a day when I can totally rest. Really helps. Yeah. And one of my clients was saying, you know, when he got back to work, he'd come in and he'd just do some gentle stretching. Initially, he was just coming in, zoning out in front of the telly, and he found having a nice cup of tea, doing some stretching just helped him sort of de-stress from the day. Okay, so the next thing is number 6, regulate as you go. So regulate whilst you're doing the task. You don't have to wait until you finish to calm your system. So that might be simple things like feeling your feet on the floor. You may have watched, I did an interview with Raylan a while back, Raylan Agel. And as I was talking and I was talking about checking into your body, I said, I can notice that I'm actually got my feet and my legs in an uncomfortable position. I've got my feet on their tippy toes. And so I just put both feet on my floor. I just dropped my shoulders. And that just helped me feel more relaxed in that moment. So you might just take those little micro pauses whilst you're working, just checking in with your body, pausing, taking a breath like we've just done, softening your jaw and tongue, putting your hand on your chest, belly, maybe just giving yourself a little stroke, keep it clean, and, you know, just letting your nervous system soften, relax, let go. All right. So you might be typing at the same time as noticing your feet, softening your face, letting out a breath through the mouth. And you're basically saying, yeah, this is challenging and we're safe enough right now to do this small piece. You know, you may have heard the story of sharpening your saw where 2 lumberjacks have to chop down trees, and there's the Norwegian and the American, and every once in a while the American hears that the Norwegian has stopped and he says, he's resting, he must have got tired, I'm going to win this. But actually the Norwegian won the competition. He chopped down more trees or sawed down more trees. Why? Because he was sharpening his saw. Okay, so point 7. Let's just see if there are any more comments. Amazing. Realised I haven't done it much today. You're absolutely welcome, Kate. So next point is allow the fatigue. Now this might sound counterintuitive. You might say, what are you talking about? So I'm sorry, I've just added your comment to the chat. I didn't mean to do that, but let me remove that. So thanks for your feedback. All right, so yes, allowing fatigue. So what if an important piece of the jigsaw is your relationship to symptoms, to fatigue? Often what happens, let me know if you can relate, put R for relate. What happens is the fatigue appears and immediately the mind goes, oh no, this shouldn't be happening. Here we go again. I've ruined everything. And that resistance actually adds stress chemistry to the system, okay, and can prolong the fatigue. Instead, we can practice, and I was talking about this today, instead of resistance, and when we resist what is, we lose, but only 100% of the time, according to Byron Katie. So instead we practice, okay, I'm noticing some tiredness. Of course I feel tired. I'm doing something that's challenging. You're not approving of it. You're acknowledging your reality without adding a battle on top. Allowing fatigue doesn't mean you never stop. It just means you're not punishing yourself for feeling what you feel. So I can see some R's from Penny and Callisto. So, and again, if we notice that fatigue, we might just think, okay, maybe I need a micro break. Just getting up, moving around, having a little shake, or whatever works for you can make the difference. And this is important because one of the things I teach people when I train them in this approach called the mind-body reconnect is that your emotional brain sends signals when you're not meeting your needs, when you're not feeling safe. Okay, so if we listen and take action, then the emotional brain can start to turn down those signals. Okay, so next point is number 8, tame the pressure voice. So if we're saying things like, if I don't finish this now, everything will fall apart. That's not enough. I should be able to do more. Other people could do this easily. When you notice that voice, you can gently shift to something like, I'm doing what I can with the body I have today. Some is better than none. My health comes first, even when this is important. Okay. Penny says sometimes. You're not trying to force positive thinking. You're just choosing words that create less threat, not more. And that reduced mental threat means a reduction of the load on your nervous system. So, point 9. And this one might be challenging for those of you who are perfectionists. Let me know in the chat if you have perfectionist tendencies, which is lower your standards on purpose. This can feel uncomfortable if you're a perfectionist. For tasks like forms, applications, admin, remember, this is a functional task. It's not a performance. The goal is not to produce perfect output. The goal is to get the task done at the level that's appropriate. Okay? So, and it might be, depending on the task, that you do things in a way that's a bit messy. So Kate says P. All right, thank you for your honesty. Messy is okay. Typos can be fixed later. Short answers are still answers. You might even say, completed is enough today. I can always refine later if I have capacity. Okay, so next point, point 10. Where possible, get external support. And obviously, I understand that this might not be an option in terms of support from others for everyone. So Callisto says, I try stopping to be perfect. Amazing. That's great. That's making that effort is important. Oh, sorry, I've realized I've added you to the broadcast. Let me just remove you. I didn't even know I did that. Okay, definitely lowered my standards. Cannot run or do what I used to do. Totally accept this now. Fantastic. So that is good because, and remember, you don't have to make that as a permanent thing. This is for now. Okay. At one point, I couldn't go swimming because it absolutely drained me, and I got back to swimming. Last week I was away in Dubai. I was swimming in the sea, swimming in the pool, which was quite cold. And actually, I really slept well, I think, because it was like quite a shock to my system to be doing that. All right. So use external support when you can. Okay. Consider whether there are ways where you don't have to be so alone. I appreciate this is circumstantial. Some people have a partner, some people don't. But wherever you've got the option to, I know a friend of mine who would do boring tasks with another friend. They'd get together, and that she found that just helpful, even if it's for half an hour or whatever. So if there is someone who can just sit with you whilst you're filling the form in for company, whether if you can use dictation tool on your phone or laptop instead of typing. There is tech where you can record your voice and it translates it into text. But these days, smartphones have a dictation tool, so I can speak into my phone and it'll type out the words, which is very cool. Where feasible, asking for a deadline extension, explaining that you're unwell. Obviously, I understand that's not always an option. Getting a friend or family member to read things out loud to save cognitive effort. For your nervous system, having another safe human being can make a big difference. And Kate says ChatGPT has become a help. That's really fascinating. You talk about that. I just had a walk with a friend before lunch, and she was talking about how useful she's finding ChatGPT, and I equally, I was responding to someone's comment on my video, and I thought, actually, I'm just going to put this through ChatGPT because my tendency might be to be a little bit confrontational, and ChatGPT said, yeah, let's soften that. All right. So ChatGPT is a brilliant resource. So you can use it for free. So check it out if you haven't done. Okay. Even if they're, if you have got the option of having someone, even if they're just in the same room doing something else, your body can actually feel more connected by doing that. All right. So been going nearly half an hour. So I'm going to finish soon. A few more to get through. I'll speed through this. So support your body physically. All right. So we've talked about a lot about the emotional brain, but the body matters too. Before and during a period of necessary overdoing, think about what you can do to support your body in terms of easy to digest food that doesn't spike and crash your blood sugar. Hydration, electrolytes, if you find that helps. Snacks nearby so you don't have to get up too much. Okay. Stable blood sugar and hydration means less background stress for your system to deal with. Okay, so let's go to the next point. Number 12. Reassure the scared part. Okay. And if you want help with this, I've made publicly available a method called the See It method, which is a way of taking care of the scared part of you. If you have used that technique or seen me demo it with somebody else and found it helpful, let me know in the chat. So often there is a very young, scared part of us that remembers past crashes, past times we felt overwhelmed, and is scared. And you can talk to that part quietly under your breath. You can say, I know this is challenging, but we're safe enough right now. We're going to stop soon. I'm with you. We're going to do this together. All right. So do check out, if you want to access the See It method, I will pop the link below this video. You need to join a Facebook group. Penny says, yes, definitely helps. Thank you for your feedback. And, you know, I created that method because I felt it was a bit that was missing when I learned brain training. It was more saying stop to that part of me that was scared, rather than actually embracing that and listening to that part. Stacey says, always telling myself I'm safe. Amazing. Kate says, love the See It method. Thank you for that feedback. All right. So tone matters more than the exact words. Imagine how you'd speak to a frightened child who has something difficult to do. And when I take people through that method, I took someone through that method today, and they said, yeah, I feel more safe, more kind of regulated. Okay, so that's the kind of vibe and energy we're going for. All right, so also love the word enough. Safe enough is far more believable by our nervous system, I think. Yeah, love that. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so yeah, actually I'd forgotten that I'd said it, but yeah, thank you for that feedback. It's always really useful to get feedback, because sometimes, you know, people say, oh yeah, that really, you know, stood out for me. All right. So 13, gentle debrief afterwards. Okay. Once the task is over, often people immediately scan for symptoms, judge themselves. What if you did this? You ask yourself, what helped me today? What did I handle better than last time? Where did I stop earlier than I used to do? Where can I give myself a pat on the back, or even a double pat on the back, fist bumps, a woohoo? All right, people who've done my courses know that that's part of what we do. We look for the wins, we celebrate the wins by doing all of that. Give yourself a round of applause, pat on the back, fist bumps. All right. You're deliberately building confidence pathways. You're showing your nervous system, look, we can do these challenging things in a kinder way now. All right. So point 14, last point. Thank you for staying with me. And point 14 is what is your post-task recovery ritual? Okay. Then you can give yourself or create a little ritual. It might be a warm bath or shower, lying down in dim light with eyes closed, listening to a guided relaxation, gentle stretching, doing a gentle vagus nerve stimulation like humming, or very gentle neck stretches, rotating your neck. Whatever it is, I find it really useful. Like after this call, I'm going to get up and just do some stretching. Still a bit tired, travelled back from Dubai on Tuesday, got back pretty late. I can feel it in my body, so I'm just going to do some gentle stretching, maybe lie down and just do some body stretching lying on my back. Do whatever works for you. The idea is you help your body complete the cycle and signal, that's over now, we're safe, we can chill. Let's just have a look at the comments. Yes, Kate, completely agree. That's in relation to enough. Great advice. Thanks again. You are welcome. If a crash prevents you from moving to a new place, how to bow out and process? Yeah, I said I'd share a few more little tips. If that's the decision you need to make, consider what you're saying to yourself. Are you saying to yourself, oh no, you know, I failed or whatever? Or are you saying, well done for that self-care? Let me know, if you like, how soon the move is. All right. But one of the things I would be constantly doing, and I've created a technique called the resilient mindset method. So message me if you would like it. Is that we need to write down the 5 core things that we're saying to ourselves that are negative. And then we write down the 5 opposite. You can also use the see it method that I've just been talking about, spelled SEEIT, and that's a way of taking care of that scared part of us. And then when you've done that, you can practice this resilient mindset method. Anytime you notice that fear in your body, you pause, you identify, what is it I'm saying to myself at some level that's putting my body in that state of stress? What could I be saying to myself instead? So basically, every time you're going into that state of dysregulation, you're supporting a more regulated state. And if you practice that consistently, that can help build your capacity. That can help, that consistent shifting into regulation can support your body and its capacity to do stuff. So let me know if you've got any more questions on that. Yoga Nidra every time. So remember, one last slide, okay? One event of overdoing it is not permanent damage, okay? Overdoing it thoughtfully and with these strategies that I've been talking about with support is not the same as permanent damage, okay? That's often driving the fear, the panic, the self-attack that gets layered on top. That we have, those crashes have those layers attached to it. So what if we take away the fear and the panic, the self-attack? That can soften and that can support the body's recovery so that actually we go into the task the next day with a more resilience. That sends safety signals throughout the body and we can dramatically change the experience for the nervous system. I was talking about this earlier, that I recognized that I was catastrophizing, saying to myself, oh, I'm feeling so awful, I'm going to get worse, I'm going to end up in hospital. And I decided one day I need to stop this. I need to start reassuring myself. My body has got incredible healing power. And within 4 hours, I felt dramatically better. Still had work to do, but it made a massive difference. So River Tree says, the move was supposed to be this month. Health is more important. Big lesson. Brilliant. Okay, so that is fantastic. If you can, embrace that your health is the priority. And, it will happen at some point. Okay, so you're not weak for needing these strategies. You're being intelligent. And of course, putting these strategies into practice can take work. Those old patterns of pushing through might, be very tempting, that you might make those decisions to push on occasion. That's okay. You can still come back. You can still get to the end of the day and debrief what went well, what needs work, what might I do differently tomorrow. Okay. And that's a strategy that a school principal used, and people say to him, how come you're always in a kind of good vibe? Well, he says, I prepare the day by saying, let's review the day. What went well? What didn't go so well? What might I do differently tomorrow? How do I want to be tomorrow? I don't know I'm going to be presented with, but I can visualize myself responding to challenging situations in a more resourceful way. So if that resonated, I'd love to hear what strategy feels most doable for you right now. If you need to rewatch the video, if it's useful, actually, before I get to that, is there a situation coming up where you might have to overdo it? So where you could use some of these strategies. So feel free to share in the chat or the comments. If you'd like me to hear, I'm giving myself another job, or my virtual assistant as well. If you'd like me to create a simple overdoing survival plan cheat sheet based on what I've shared, then let me know. All right. So let's have a look. Final comments. My move will be at the end of March. Okay. So Callisto, does that give you some strategies to help you? It's really important that we've got to be tuning into what predictions am I making. If I'm saying this is going to be hard, then that's just going to create stress. If we're saying to ourselves, I can do this, I'm going to just plan as much as I can. I'm going to get things done in a methodical, strategic way, and it's all going to go okay. I'm going to take every opportunity I can to just get my system into a state of regulation, out of dysregulation, into regulation. That's going to support. All right. So will you put the link to the See It method here? Yes, I'll do that right now after we finish. Thanks, Simon, so much. You are very welcome. Invaluable advice as always. If you've liked the video, do share with other people. Okay. Great advice. Great. Thanks, Simon. Little chunks with breaks between is great. Take away from me. So thanks for sharing that, everybody. Thanks for your participation. It makes it much more interesting for me. Dare to dream big dreams. Dare to take steps no matter how small. Okay. Callista says, yes, this helps. Looking forward to the new place. Awesome. Let us know how you get on. Yes to the cheat sheet. That was super helpful, Simon. Thanks for all you do. You are welcome, and feel free to share your name if you want. But if you want to remain anonymous with the River Tree, that's fine. You are very, very welcome. Dare to dream big dreams. Dare to take steps no matter how small. Keep going. You've got this. Wishing you great health. Hearts, smiley face. Oh, you're welcome. See you in the next video. Bye for now. For me, it was the timer and actually listen to it. Yes, exactly. Yes to the cheat. Thank you. You're very welcome. Really great, good advice. You are welcome, Natalie. Bye all. Loving you all. Bye for now.